Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about Visit to the Unknown from Tensei Shitara Slime Talk, and so without any ado let's begin. Visit to the Unknown, 09 Negotiations with Michelle Part 2. General Michelle's trusted men brought them while making sure that no one knew about it. After all, did you really think there would be machines that had been damaged so little? Now that you mention it. Rindo nodded as Zaza's explanation started to make sense in his head. Zaza was also the oldest out of all of them. It was true that without Zaza, the resistance would not have been able to maintain their size all of this time. They had recognized him as a purely military man who had survived the Great War. And so there were some who felt that it was odd that he had never become a leader. Zaza went around to each base and seemed to find new places to hide before an old one became uninhabitable. Zaza always called it good luck, but if this was the reason for it, then it all made sense. So all of his accomplishments were due to Michelle's support. It was proof that what Michelle said was the truth. So that's why. I was wondering why there was a cyborg just like me amongst the resistance. Tisk. So you noticed? No, not really. I just thought that the technology seemed out of reach for them. It wasn't until you said that you couldn't eat pancakes that I began to suspect. Carmen added that he became sure of it after seeing the way he had reacted to Michelle. Outwardly, Zaza had the same detailed features as humans. He did not look like he was built for battle. As the resistance was low on resources, they would not have been able to make such changes just to increase his lifespan. Besides, it wasn't the new modification technology that used enhanced organs and required food, it was the old type that was the exact same as Carmen's own modifications. It was technology from over 100 years ago. If it was still operating today, if only the brain was still human, that would require an incredibly difficult procedure. So Carmen was able to guess at what Zaza was, as he had undergone the same procedure at the same time under Michelle's order. In the first place, I could tell by the way you talked to her. You're an awful spy. Hey. Ramirez declared. Feldera laughed. Zaza scratched his head and said, I am ashamed. He said that he could not tell what Michelle was trying to do, and he had been caught off guard once he saw that Feldera was fine. Fool. As if I would lose. That's why I don't care for weak people. You don't get it. If General Michelle wanted it, we would have all been dead. And I'm calling you a fool. From what I heard, she doesn't even have a reason to try and kill us all. And so it is normal to think there is some other purpose. Zaza, you should have realized that. That is true, but... Well, ultimately, it was quite a show. Wasn't it? Zaza chuckled awkwardly. Now, on to the main subject. Everyone was shocked by the revelation that Zaza was a spy, but one cough from Michelle had them all tense again. I am sure you have a lot you would like to say about me and the city. But I ask that you set them aside for now. The reason that I came here directly is because I have sensed a disturbing presence within the city. I can no longer trust those on the upper level. It has become difficult to determine who is on my side. And so I want collaborators on the outside. Though, it is very sad and ironic that you are all more trustworthy than the people of the city. Wait a minute. A disturbing presence? What do you mean? Exactly. You sound as if you are saying you have enemies within the city. But no one in the resistance has ever succeeded in entering it. What is this enemy you are afraid of? Rindo and Sharma were quick to question her on this point. Michelle seemed to think about it for a moment before opening her mouth. Yes, since I am asking for your help, it is only right that I tell you. However, this must be kept a secret. And so she began to tell them. Even Zaza had not known about it. This shadow that Michelle was facing. In the first place, what was the cause of the Great War? The biggest reason was the forecast about starvation. That and the explosively rising population. Still, even if that forecast hadn't been made, you could say that the collapse was only a matter of time. Don't you think it is strange? If those who entered the city didn't have to work, that would mean less work every time a city was made. It was said that people would be selected through a lottery, but that was not the case. Those who were brilliant or had good genes were selected first. That was how the 5 cities gained their population. They nodded as Michelle explained. As long as the labor force was so connected to the completion of a city, it would be difficult to continue building cities once a certain number had been completed. Whatever the deciding factor was, it was really just a trigger. No, if anything. Once you have finished acquiring a certain number of brilliant personnel, they cut off and abandoned the rest. That's what I started to think. Michelle paused here. She looked around to see the reaction of the others. Sharma was closing her eyes and seemed to be deep in thought. Rindo looked shocked. Zaza remained quiet, perhaps he had already sensed it. Carmen was smoking his cigar, processing the information in his own way. That. Is there proof? Sharma asked. Michelle nodded. No proof. It is all my own speculation. However, the seventh city did not have enough troops to defend themselves. On top of that, the defense systems were incomplete and would not activate. That was why the city became the first casualty in the war. They had taken in refugees from the sixth city, which resulted in their ruin. After that, the other 5 cities united. They now had a reason to refuse any refugees entry. And that was how the mechanized empire of Omsbine was born. The population that had been on the rise suddenly began to plummet. All the technology of the world was now focused in the empire. If only the radiation that polluted the world could be removed, no, even that. What if all of it had been planned? Every incident may look unrelated when viewed by themselves, but if looked at from a bird's-eye view, you might see a different picture. It all seemed to move too conveniently for the empire. Then, are you saying that it was all planned by the emperor? Sharma shouted in horror. However, Michelle remained calm. I have no proof. Even circumstantial evidence is weak. Still, it is also true that the dots connect when considered in this way. And that is why I have been investigating in secret. She continued calmly. And so, I want people that I can trust. Please, will you help me? She said. They all sat in silence. They were unsure about how they should react. They didn't know if they should say yes or no. It was in this oppressive atmosphere that Feldera's laugh suddenly echoed. Ka ha 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 ha. Help you? Very well. We were just talking about crushing this empire or whatever you call it. So it is perfect. Of course, you will also help, won't you? He said as he put a hand on Zaza's shoulder. Hey, what? You know, you really should. Zaza was confused, but he soon made up his mind. Well, I had already offered my life to General Michel. And so I will believe that this is for the good of the rest of humanity. He said. Then he smiled at the laughing Feldera. Next, it was Carmen and his men. Huh. In that case, I will also help you. If the Great War really had been planned from the beginning, it would make everything I have done up until now a joke. I cannot stand the thought. Can the rest of you? No. 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 Their resolve was firm and they were united. And so Carmen and his men agreed to help. In any case, our future is tied with cooperating with the Empire. I cannot make any promises regarding what the other branches will say, but this branch, or at least me personally, I will believe you. Indeed. Even if Zaza was connected to you, I do not see it as a betrayal. My decision is the same as yours after hearing your story. I will believe you, Michelle. All her doubts and fears were pushed aside momentarily. Sharma decided to put her faith in Michelle. And Rindo seemed to have decided as well. So we've decided then. Well, I just have to follow Master. After all, he's the one that will take all the blame if we get in trouble. Ramaris thought. There wasn't any point in even hearing Beretta's opinion, as he followed Ramaris. And so they all promised to cooperate with Michelle. The result of this was that Carmen and his men would now work under Zaza. Zaza had been a first lieutenant, which made him a superior to Carmen in the chain of command. As for Sharma and the others, they would leave this place and head to a new hiding place that Michelle had prepared. While Michelle's power was currently shutting them off from the surface, she would ultimately burn it all down and make a report about how she had killed all of the members of the resistance. And under Michelle's guidance, they decided on their future direction. The only thing left was the role of Feldera and the others. It's finally our turn. So, Michelle or whatever your name is. What do you want us to do? Should we go now and attack? What? What the hell are you? As if you would have a chance if you went and attacked now. Yes, Zaza is right. Even if General Michel is your ally, the Empire still has 3 others of the machinery 4. And there are other officers as well. You don't have a chance of winning. That's right, Mr. Feldera. I am an amateur when it comes to fighting, but it would be foolish to try and fight now. You must allow the investigation to continue so the enemy can be singled out. Feldera had volunteered enthusiastically, but Zaza, Carmen and Rindo berated him. As for Michelle, She wondered why Feldera seemed to love to fight so much. Or at least, her expression seemed to say so. Master. I don't think this is the best timing to go all out like that. Even Ramiris moved frantically to stop him. She felt that it would be very dangerous. And Beretta. He was good. The star of the show should appear at the very end, don't you agree? It would be unwise to sell yourself so cheaply. That is what I think. He was used to this, and so he knew what to say to get Feldera's attention. He did not need to rely on skills. One word could be enough to manipulate Feldera. At the very end, when you know the enemy well and that woman called Michelle is struggling in the battle. That is when you can swoop down and help them. That would be quite easy for you, wouldn't it, Lord Feldera? I see. You have a good point, Beretta. So I can make an appearance at the end and take the spotlight, eh? That's basic stuff. It was really all he thought about and usually failed at it, but Feldera didn't remember any of that now. He decided to take Beretta's advice and obey Michelle. Then, Feldera. I want you to escort these people as they relocate to their new home. There are many dangers on the surface, so they will need all the help they can get. And I am sure that you are capable of dealing with any situation. Michelle was the only one who had guessed at what Feldera was truly capable of. And quite accurately as well. She believed that he was stronger than herself. And that was why she gave him the most important task as a sign of respect. They would fight once she had evidence. In other words, there was more than enough time to take the non-combatants to safety. And so Feldera listened to Michelle's request and agreed to go with Sharma on an escort mission. Once that was settled, Sharma turned to Michelle. So, if we are to believe your words, it is possible that the Emperor was behind all of it. As for that, the investigation is still underway. However, as I said before, we do not have any proof yet. I don't even want them to know that I have suspicions, which requires that we move cautiously. So I cannot give you an answer quickly. I see. However, General Michel. Is the Emperor not your own father? What will you do if he really was responsible? What does it matter if he is my father? I will defeat evil. I cannot imagine hesitating in doing it. Michelle made this declaration with such a strong show of will, as if to cut through whatever fears and doubts Sharma and Zaza had. She had carried this suspicion for decades. And she had decided that she would defeat the person behind it once she found out, no matter who it was. However, Michelle was not sure if her father the Emperor really was the man behind it all. And she would not act until she was certain. She would decide once she had evidence that she could really trust. And in preparation for that moment, she wanted to unite the resistance. Lastly, she asked that they gather together volunteers for combat personnel. And then Michelle ended the meeting. Thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe for more content.